Okay, so you have 5 minutes. Your teachers, we're not helping you. This is to see what you know. We're going to walk around the room and just see what you're doing, make some notes so that we can track what you're doing. But go ahead, start having those conversations for this, okay? But we can't help you at all. But if you have a question right now, go ahead with your question. I'll let Ms. Hunt answer that question.
As long as there's a window between you, go ahead.
All right. We're going to just watch you guys because you're going to give us in a minute. You're going to give us to go on the board here, okay?
Compare. I think you
And I know it's going to be
make
hard, Miss
comparisons
Becky, but we're not going to.
because we're all talking about the conversation. So I think we can compare the conversations and like relate them back to each other.
Y'all are getting your sign language down. I'm proud of you.
What was the conversation with Sam and the boys? And then 5. No. Yeah. Wait. I thought I was supposed to.
So number 3, I say that
Lillian, share what you're thinking.
number C.
Because
Share your thought process.
I say that
2
Sam is putting a lot of pressure on him to say
what the number with the conversation with Sam.
yeah. One is how they're running up the hill.
Like where did Joshua?
Keep going with what you said, Monica.
Another one about so if we go back, let's go back. So it's a conversation with Sam. That's like the friend. So they're like Sam struggled to keep up with the brothers and the friend Joshua, but his leg was stiff. But then when they get there, he steps up and says, he's one to confront them. So they try to pick up
Tell us what you're doing.
what are those numbers for?
What numbers? Right here? Event number 1, event number 7. So that's just, instead of writing it all out, we just put 1. You don't have to, just compare. Just make it easier for us.
You try like pick yourself up and keep up. So he didn't make them late.
My statement for the 5 for this one that says Sam had a conversation with the servant is
Good. I like how you corrected your language to get
stood
the
up for
academic
himself
language.
and he went. Sam hesitated. What could he do? Then looked at the servant again and said, "I'll tell him to scatter the ashes someplace else." And then he started to limp up the hill.
All right, we got about 3 minutes, and I'm going to be calling on you. Get ready. Prepare something.
Said, "Could you scatter the ashes someplace else?" So he stood up for himself and his friend and his brother. So like, cause he said it's gonna ruin the snow. So he stood up for himself and his brother.
And just pick the first.
And that's why I picked 5. And then for 2, when it said he had a conversation with the boys had a conversation with Sam.
I just think it's
It could be
Okay, I talked a lot about doing your fair share, so we're not just depending on one person in our group. We're all doing our part. 'Cause we all have to meet the standard, not just the one person in the group talking.
Edward tried to get Sam to leave General Haldeman's house, but Sam wanted to stay to
So you
stand up
can like express his point
to
and
get the sergeant out of
so they
there.
can get their hill back.
Yeah, because that's their favorite hill to go down with their sled.
Yeah, I forget. That we're looking at these
collect these.
Oh,
You could think.
so 5.
We need to know what you know.
Better that
It's on
conversation.
paper.
Maybe you could find 2 to compare. Okay, that's an idea. Right? And you know what was your picking again? Which one did you pick? Edward, you're picking from the event.
Yeah.
That's the direction.
It explains a little
It's
more.
okay. It's okay. What's that?
5 and 2, it kind of explains a little more to me.
That's okay, we'll go ahead and do that.
Because 6 and 2, it's still talking about, well, 6 is talking
Don't
about
be
that,
right, just scratch through.
conversation with general.
Just that, there you go.
All right, I heard a lot of great conversations. Okay, if ever you don't know what you're doing, raise your hand, we can help you explain the directions better. I mean, Ms. Stoll knows how that is, sometimes Ms. Ms. Wright has to explain to her 4 or 5 times before she knows what we're really doing. So, next time ask questions, okay, but I heard a lot of great conversation overall.
Stoll, I heard great conversation too, but I wanna compliment them, because in their conversation, even when they disagreed, they gave evidence of their side of the story, but I even heard one person say, it's okay to disagree.
Twice I heard that, Richard, I love that. And I also heard, I don't know if you did, but I heard them using all the terminology from the standard. I heard compare, contrast, heard specific language, specific details. Love it, I love it, you guys are well on your way to understanding that.
And the good thing about talking with your friends, I heard them come up with some comparisons that I hadn't even thought of.
Yeah, no, right.
So when you talk
Right.
with others, you get
Right,
more
that
ideas.
group came up with 2 that I would have, one I knew right away, but the second one I was like, oh, that was really deep thought. So I
Right.
like the thinking of all the different groups, so here we go. Who wants to share, Miss Stuckey? Who do you think we should let share? Okay, so,
It's tough, cause I heard a lot of good conversation.
and this is really important for us to understand this because we have a worksheet that you're gonna do by yourself independently. So this was your practice time on the task. All right,
Okay,
here we go.
well, I have a hand up.
All right,
I'm
let's go
excited.
with this gentleman right here.
Okay.
I had told number 5, the servant and Sam conversation. The first one is about Sam, what he had said. Could you,
And
Scotty,
what
your
event did
answer.
you compare to number 5? Which number? I heard you
You're supposed to
say
pick 2
event number
events.
5,
2
what
events.
event did you compare to that?
Yeah, tell her that.
I had got number 3.
Pull your mask out just a smidge, just a smidge.
He compared the servant pouring the ashes to the, which one did you compare it to?
Conversation with Sam and the servant.
Okay, 3 and 5,
Okay,
okay. And how were those alike?
I chose those 2 because, about,
Which we read.
I couldn't get nothing for number 3, but I got like 2 of them for 5.
Okay,
Okay,
how
sure.
were 3 and 5 the same? How were they alike?
They're both about the servant and
Okay,
how he poured the ashes on their head.
so the conversations both pertain to the servant and the pouring of the ashes. Is that right? Yes, sir.
okay,
Good job.
That was a comparison, and now,
right, and a detail.
Alright, the first one is what Sam said. Could you scatter your ashes somewhere else?
Okay,
I paraphrased it from some place because that would have took too much to somewhere else.
okay. And can you give us a detail from the other conversation, the boys?
I couldn't get nothing about that. I only got something that Sam said.
Well, you picked them because they were both conversations. Let's go with yours, sir. What did you say?
I disagree with him for number 5 because I think that detail, could you scatter the ashes someplace else, really fits with event number 3.
okay.
Yeah. You think that fits with 3, that's the conversation they had in 3. what was the conversation they had in, what was the other one, in 5?
He said,
So really 3 is when they're just arriving at the hill and they recognize that they're late. So you're saying, and I think you even said that the comparison here, you need to maybe pick a different number to compare, is that what you're saying? Okay. So can you correct this one for us and help us with this one? Is there another event that you can compare one of those numbers to?
you can compare 5 with 6
Okay, and how so?
because they're both talking about the servant pouring ashes on the heel.
Very good. Very good. Good correction on that. I like that you were brave enough to come up with the first one for us to get the conversation rolling. Very good. I like that you found a detail for that one. I love how you corrected it and made it into the correct standard request comparing and contrasting 2 events. All right. Did you want to continue on with details? All right, so are you going to write what, so you want him to find the details?
Yeah.
So find us evidence.
Details.
Did you want to give us one, Ms. James, for this one?
Did we write what
No, you've got your own on your paper. You're just helping us with this one. You're going to give us the paper that you have with your name on it, okay?
Go ahead and put your name on it while you're waiting. Go ahead and put your name.
We only have a few more minutes, I think, is what Ms. Hunt's trying to tell us.
Okay. So 5 and 6 were both conversations that Sam had with another person, but the conversations were had the same question, right? Would you please ask the servant to not spread the ashes on the hill anymore?
So now we're looking for
Okay.
specific detail.
So what is a detail that would help me know that?
And it can be implicit or explicit. Okay, Ms. James, tell us where you're looking, what page or what number.
I'm looking on page 115, and it says in paragraph 14, please sir, Sam said, I'd like to make a request. Sam wanted to run, but he had come too far. Could you scatter the ashes someplace else? They ruin the snow and we can't coast.
Okay.
So I'm gonna put, I'd like to make a request, because that's what he did in both of them, right? With the servant and then again with the general.
Okay, so we have a detail from his conversation with the servant. Now let's look for a detail for his conversation with the general. Did you have that? You put your hand down. Do you want to answer or no?
I have a different.
Oh, different one? All right, yes, sir.
On page 116, in paragraph 23, it says, "We are free citizens of Boston," he said, "and you have no right to destroy our heel."
Okay, so you used the specific quote that he had when asking the general to please not put ashes. So just a tip, I like how you guys are giving me the information I need. I love that you understand the story because I feel like you really have a deep understanding of it. Let's just make sure we're using that key language, okay, from the standard, and make sure we're following that as our roadmap. Ms. James, yes?
On my paper, I forgot we were comparing.
On your paper, you what?
I forgot we were comparing.
That's okay. It's all right. It's all right.
Okay, I think we have time for one more quick one. Comparison,
Miss Vicki.
6 minutes.
okay? Quickly tell us yours.
What I got was 5 and 2
Because,
because 5 said,
Where did I get that?
There were so many conversations, it's so easy to get lost in the conversation. That's why it's important we have the list of events here to help us.
oh yeah, I got it. I got go scatter ashes someplace else because for 5 because it said that's a conversation between the servant and the Sam. It says I'll tell him to go scatter some ashes someplace else.
Okay.
And my detail is that he stood up for himself and his friends.
Okay, so in Sam's conversation with the servant, Sam stood up for himself. Okay, and what was the other event where Sam stood up for himself that you wanted to compare that with?
Number 2, Edward, he pulled, Edward grabbed Sam's arm and pulled him away. He said, "Come on," he said, and because Edward didn't, I think that Edward didn't think that it was a good idea to go talk to the servant.
But is that the same? Is that different? See, those two
So
events.
he's, let me add a little bit to that because that goes back to what we were talking about yesterday with characters. Where when his brother was saying, "Come on, let's go," and he's like, "No." So he was standing up for them because no one else, neither of the other boys, they were like, "Let's just go."
So he's talking about the interactions
Yeah.
of Sam with. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
so was it 5 and 6?
I feel like the numbers may be off.
Edward, when Sam's talking to the general, was another time that Edward
Yes, 5
started to
and
pull
6.
him away.
Mhm.
Yeah, that would be a good example.
Yeah, so that's absolutely because we've learned that events can be actions and interactions, so that's what he's referring to.
Very good.
Yeah.
You're using
That was
the
deep
language from
thinking.
yesterday and pulled in today. That's very good.
And my detail for that was his friend tried to get him to go, but he stood his ground.
He stood his ground. Very good. Very good. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do now. Put your name on that paper. And I think, am I right that Ms. Hunt, do you have something in the book, or are they just gonna do that tomorrow?
Well, it's time to go ahead. Yeah, we'll follow up and we'll finish with this on Monday.
All right, very good.
I'm gonna,
Oh, that's right, today is Thursday.
yeah, that's still tomorrow. I'm gonna bring my bin around and collect them. So just hold on to them for a moment.
It's fun. We're gonna do it again. We're gonna come back again.
So as we wind everything up, you know the standard, you told us all the components of it, you've worked on it. Why did we take this time to do this? Why did we list the events? Why did we compare and contrast them? Okay, Eli? Why? But why would we bother doing all that?
Why does that matter? Very good. That's exactly what we're doing. We're
Yeah,
doing
you
secret.
got it.
Why are we doing
Why are
this,
we
Eli?
doing all that?
Don't know about the characters, then there would be no way to know about the main events or anything.
You got part of it.
You
What
may not know
else?
the characters, you may not know the events.
Why do you even need to know the main idea?
Why do we need to know the main idea other than Ms. Hunt wants us to?
Oh, why? So you can find parts of the story?
Why do you wanna find parts
Yes,
of the
you do.
story? That's good. Why do you wanna find those parts? Why is it important for us to pick it apart like we just did? I don't know who to call on. Ms. Hunt, we're gonna let you.
Montrez.
So you can get a deeper understanding.
Yes!
all
Deeper
right.
understanding of what you read. Did you wanna add to that,
That's
sir?
right.
And also to what we know and it's the main idea of the whole article or text.
Yeah.
So we need to know that.
Yeah,
Like, you
Yes.
won't
so
get
in
a
real
good
world, I like that you
understanding.
brought that, in real world scenarios, when it's not a story like this,
You won't
when
get a
it's
good
something else,
scenario.
you need to know what the author's trying to tell you or teach you, right? So that's really important, to know all the different parts of it. I read this because Ms. Hunt told me it's gonna be a really tough article. I read this story at least 7 times, not because it was tough, because every time I read it, I found something different. And I even stopped Miss Stuckey a couple times when we were planning, because teachers plan for this, you know? Miss Hunt is a lot of time in planning, so we didn't want to do justice to Miss Hunt and do just as well as she does as teaching. So we really studied, but I had to keep telling her different things that I thought was fascinating that I would find out about Sam. His character really developed. So I wish we had a chance to talk about the character, because I bet that was a really rich conversation.
We actually started this whole thing yesterday after we read it. I said, I really enjoyed it because there's a theme here. I said, we haven't gotten to theme yet, and I asked them who remembers theme. And they activated their 4th grade learning, and they were excited to share that and that started our conversations yesterday.
All right, very good. Thank you for turning those in. We're going to get those. We're going to look at it. That's going to help Miss Stuckey and I plan for when we come back.